There are growing concerns among the indigenes of Bassambiri community in Nembe local government area of Bayelsa State, where an oil wellhead operated by Aiteo Eastern Exploration and Production Company has been spewing crude oil unabated for almost 3 weeks. Although Aiteo has sent relief materials to Bassambiri, it has not been able to contain the oil spill in Oil Mining Lease OML 29, which it acquired from Shell in 2015. Aiteo says it's mobilizing technical expertise locally and from abroad to stop the spill and has notified the National Oil Spill Detection and Response Agency, NOSDRA, which is yet to respond to the emergency at the Santa Barbara River, where the wellhead is located. For more on the oil spill, Arise News correspondent Ovieteme George reports.
We board a boat at the Nembe jetty, hoping to get close to the site of the spill in 30 minutes. Quite visible is the oil sheen on the bed of the river and creeks as we meander through the saline waterways.
And look at this. This is my handkerchief. It's about 3 more minutes to get to the polluted site, and we're told to wear our nose masks because of the strong smell of crude oil. But this is a sign that all is not well here in Nembe.
We cannot proceed beyond 1 kilometer of the traveled spot at Worikuma Kiri. At best, an aerial view will be viable. The fury of Aiteo Well 01 can be heard from the distance, spewing crude oil into the Santa Barbara River, compelling the fishermen to flee the area.
I have been here for almost 26 years to do my fishing expedition, and also plant whatever thing you see there, both the crops and the plants, all of them belongs to me, that have been damaged by this. All my people, the inhabitants here, have been displaced. This oil is the best oil so far in West Africa. It is called Bonny Light. And look at what Nigeria is losing, the Bayelsa State is losing, and even the local government is losing. It has been up to about 3 weeks and some days. Let them find a solution to stop this thing. We cannot live here again. The menace is too much for us.
This release of hydrocarbons to the atmosphere is carcinogenic and teratogenic. That means if a pregnant woman can come here and fish, the benzene will get into the placenta and affect the development of the child, thereby causing mutations of various kinds. So my worry is that if human beings come here to fish, they will also contract cancer. So they should stay clear of this water. Pending when the proper cleanup will be constituted by the Nigerian government and by Aiteo.
Riding along communities in proximity to the site of the spill, distress calls rent the air in an area where fishing and farming are woven tight into the culture and tradition of the people. It is business unusual at Sonikiri, where canoes sit idle, waiting for the flow tide. Yokore Torubele is a local businesswoman in the fishing community.
The crew don't come the net, and no way to go fishing. Now when they go, they know the key fish. Now crew now they pack up for the net. So government fee helping my school children where they go to university for Amachoma. No money to train them again. So government fee help me.
The oil spill has destroyed everything, and we bear the brunt. Our occupation is fishing, but there's nothing to catch anymore. The traps, mangrove forests, even fish ponds are heavily polluted, leaving the fishes dead. We don't know what to do. What the women want is containment, to avert an outbreak of fire. If nothing is done, it will ignite and many will die because we're all fishermen. So government should help and stop the spill.
A representative of the Environmental Rights Action, Friends of the Earth, Nigeria, and the second vice president of the Ijaw National Congress visit the area to ascertain the true picture and level of environmental impact.
This place is supposed to be declared a disaster area, and I'm calling on the national representative of this area to call it as a matter of urgency to say that this place should be visited by the Senate and the House of Reps to do the needful for the people, because as far as I'm concerned, the environmental danger, the health danger in this area is very grievous. And this issue is a national issue, because this oil well and other crude oil wells is part of the allocation that is being shared. And this is part of the Bonny Light that is being sold every month for the economy of the Nigerian state.
Since they are looking for experts, it means they do not have the capacity, they do not have the required personnel to actually deal with their operations. We know the UNEP report has told us that benzene is part of crude oil as an element which causes cancer. And then we have other respiratory diseases that are attached to such issues. Livelihood-wise, our people here in Nembe have not been able to fish for all these past 3 weeks that the spill has occurred. The Minister of Petroleum of State, Timothy Silva, is a son of this place. And we expect that by now, maybe Mr. President or himself, because Mr. President is the Minister of Petroleum, should have been here. In 1980 or thereabout, when a similar incident occurred off Sangana and Tishtown around the Funiwa area, Shagari himself came down with Melford Kilo.
On the 5th of November, Aiteo Eastern Exploration and Production Company reported the leak, describing it as extremely high in magnitude from a non-producing wellhead.
In one of our facilities,
this was quickly followed with the distribution of relief materials to the affected communities in Bassambiri, Nembe Council area of Bayelsa State.
The federal government has arrogated to itself everything concerning oil and gas operations in the exclusive list. And so they should do the needful. The palliative, or what they call it, whether relief that Aiteo has given, is also very ridiculous. Hearing that you are giving cups of rice to people, how will that sustain them?
The river don't spoil, give us something. The rice don't carry concern. Only one cup, half cup, now river everybody. Half cup of rice. What do you want to do now? Half cup of rice, what do you want to do? Talk now. What do you want to do?
somebody died as a result of this spill. And you know, gas is a dangerous substance of the crude content. And when it spread, it will cause more and more damage. And we are now calling the federal government, the state government, Aiteo, to come to our aid.
In the meantime, the indigenous oil company is seeking foreign technical expertise to halt the oil leak into the Santa Barbara River. For now, it is a waiting game for a people whose means of livelihood has been halted by oil pollution in their area. Ofietime George, Arise News.
Now joining us from Yenagoa to discuss the oil spill and its devastating impact on Bassambiri and neighbouring communities is King Bubaraye Dakolo, the Ebenanana Owe of Ekpetiama Kingdom in Bayelsa State. Good morning, sir, and welcome to the morning show.
Good morning, ma'am. How are you today?
Very well, thank you, sir.
Your Royal Highness, thank you for joining us. We just watched that sobering report on the situation in Nembe and surrounding communities following the problem with the wellhead at the Santa Barbara River. What's your assessment of the situation? The affected company, the owners of the wellhead, they say they are making efforts, that they are even trying to get international experts, that they have engaged boots and coots, but this has gone on for about 3 weeks. What's the situation at this moment?
It is a shame and very unfortunate that a thing like this should be happening in the year 2021. I well know that we have about 159 oil fields and 8,481 wells that are producing. But there are thousands of wells that are not producing. And they're just out there like landmines that are going to explode any day. And this one has erupted and is poisoning people for 22 days now, non-stop. It is crude oil and gas combined, high pressure, high velocity crude oil that is not stopped by the boom. It is flowing past the boom long ago and polluting the entire area. The response is a big shame because it is too slow. 22 days and they are still thinking about getting someone from somewhere means that they are not ready for the business. But I'm not surprised. This has been the attitude of almost every oil company in this part of the world. They do not care about the livelihood and welfare of the people. If they had, they would have been prepared ab initio, because this will keep happening. Old rusty wellheads, abandoned wellheads, you must have seen the videos. That wellhead has no protection whatsoever. There is not fenced, there is no security, it is just open for the elements. And now, do you know what they are saying? They are looking at sabotage. Why should that be the first thing? Instead of showing empathy and saving lives, they are talking about sabotage so that you put it on the defenseless people of the place. I feel so bad. I feel so terrible that this thing will be happening in 2021. But I'm happy that with social media, the world is now seeing the shame and the vile of the oil industry. How the Niger Delta people have been abused and have suffered for decades on end.
Thank you, Your Royal Majesty. I'm looking at the incident brief here, which, as Dr. Bati mentioned, Boots and Coots was mentioned there, and Kenyan International West Africa Company. It says here that they have been engaged for assessments and well kill. I'd like your comments on that. Should they be assessed after a disaster has happened? Should they not have already been assessed, employed as some kind of a backup to swing into action immediately? That's my first question. My second question, sir, is that after a disaster, then we must talk about compensation. What kind of compensation has the community received, and from whom?
Okay, so let me start from the last question. So far, the evidence is that some few bags of rice and Indomie noodles have been brought for those communities. And I know that is happening because the oil industry major operators do not live there. They feel that those who are living there are people who are fit enough for just Indomie noodles. That's why they've done that. So no compensation has been talked about. As a matter of fact, the objective is to avoid a proper compensation. That's why they are talking about accessing what may have caused it at this stage, instead of trying to prevent the leak. So at the end of the day, they will say somebody from somewhere in the village came and tampered with the exposed wellhead, and that is why there was a blowout, and so they should pay nothing. That is the usual gimmick. But the argument here is, even if, as King of Equatorial Kingdom, is responsible for tampering with that particular wellhead, does it mean that my children should suffer? Does it mean that my wife should suffer? Does it mean that other persons in the community should suffer? As a business concern, they are supposed to be ready from beginning. Like I said before in my opening remarks, you have taken over a particular field. You have assets and liabilities. There are wells that are producing, and there are wells that are not producing. These wells were not drilled yesterday. They were drilled decades ago, so they are old. You are supposed to be prepared like a scout boy from the beginning. That is if you cared about the people in the area at all. But this evidence is showing that they care nothing more than just the petrodollars. And that is why they are looking for whether is it Mills and Booms or somebody else to come and do assessment at this stage. They are supposed to be ready. They're supposed to be ready for this type of eventuality. As a matter of fact, this type of eventuality was not supposed to arise in the first place if they were prepared. So they are not prepared, they don't care. All they want is money, money, money. And that is why it is taking 22 days. And perhaps it may go on. A few years ago, we had one that went on for 68 days non-stop. 68 days. And let me tell you, I wrote a book titled The Riddle of the Oil Thief. There are about 5 chapters that are relevant here. The one that has to do with this type of incident is clear that the oil industry deliberately does this getting serious, not serious, just doing this type of game, just to allow the spill to go on for a while so that they have things to claim, so they have a bigger contract for fixing it, a bigger contract for cleaning up, a bigger contract for doing all of these. They are the ones who usually arrange for this type of tampering because at the end of the day, someone smiles to the bank. And the objective here is to smile to the bank at the end of the day and not about the people.
Thank you so much, Your Royal Highness. How far would you pursue this? Because you said there was another spill that lasted for 68 days. I'd like to know, have they paid compensation for the former one? You know, did you take them to court? What level did it get? Okay.
Yes, this was not, the last one I'm talking about is not about Aiteo. It's about Shell at Agoro in 2018. They've not paid anything. They've even agreed that it wasn't sabotage, that it was out of their own equipment failure because of rusty pipes and wellheads and so on and so forth. But they've not paid anything. They usually want to run away from payment by accusing the vulnerable, voiceless people. We're even lucky that today with social media, people can see it and talk about it. I saw some videos earlier, and then the management of Aiteo was saying it was gas, 15% gas, 15% oil and 80% gas. 15% of what? What's the volume of reserve in that place? So 15% of 1 million barrels is a lot of barrels that are going out. And that field has a capacity for 220,000 barrels every day. If you multiply that by the amount of dollars that it is sold for, a barrel is sold for, by 500 naira, you can see the number of billions that that place produces. And then look at the environment. Are you not seeing the communities and the people? How vulnerable they are. How no one takes them into cognizance.
All right.
Why NOSDRA is not there? Because they don't have. Yes, please.
Okay, so like I want to say, how far are you going to push this? You know, because you just made the calculation. You said that place will do 250,000 BPD per day. And if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, if that's Bonny Light, I know Bonny Light sells like $5 more than Brent. So it's not even the price of Brent. It is even more than Brent. And I know Bonny Light is plus or minus $5 more than Brent.
Yes.
So that's a colossal amount of money coming out of there. It's a big wellhead.
Exactly.
So how far are you going to push this? Where are you going to get justice? Because justice has to be done to the people. And like you said, not just one cup of rice.
Yes. Anyway, I believe that particularly the key persons in Nembe LGA may go as far as going to court. In the past, a couple of matters have been won in court, I think some in Benin and some in The Hague and so on and so forth. But it takes a lot. These guys are just so smart. They have all the resources for all these decades, so they weaponize the resources against the people. So when you go to court, they even jubilate. They are happy. Because they take the process through for 10 or 20 years. When you win at the High Court, they take it to appeal and ensure that it's frustrated for another 10, 20 years. And then when you win at the appeal, they go to the Supreme and ensure that somehow they get it. So you don't get it in your lifetime. So it is so frustrating. And you can see the people who are closest to the wellhead there. Are they having the capacity to take this thing to anywhere beyond just shouting the way they did? So you can see how vulnerable we've been. These resources have been taken from the bottom of the bowels of our land for too long without having us have commensurate quantities or amounts of the petrodollars. So it is difficult. But I think that with the Enlightenment and with people like you out there, you will help with making sure that this issue is always talked about until justice is done. Until we talked about it last week or so, there was no compensation. I mean, there was no palliatives. It was when we talked about it and you aired it on our Rise that they now came for face saving and they brought some few cups of rice and a few packets of Indomie to come and embarrass themselves before the Nembe people. I think that is a shame. You're supposed to have shown a sufficient empathy. And then, of course, the emphasis is who caused it. They want to get to the bottom of it. What is the bottom? Stop the pollution first and foremost before you talk about bottom. Well, don't you know that you have a bottom to sort out before you came to take off that thing from Shell?
Well, Your Highness, we've been talking about the oil company, Aiteo. But where is government in all of this? There's an oil spill detection and recovery agency, NOSDRA. Now, has there been anybody coming around from NOSDRA or from the Bayelsa State Ministry of Environment? And as the Minister of State for Petroleum, Timothy Siva, who is from that state, has he also shown any interest in this matter? And is anybody talking about how to clean up the spill? Because that could be another phase of it. Yes. After the wellhead is secured, you could still have this crisis running into years ahead. And you keep hearing that there will be the Nembe cleanup. There will be the Nembe cleanup. What do you say to all of this?
In my book, I think chapter 17 of The Riddle of the Oil Thief talks about abracadabra. Abracadabra is the gimmick that is played by the oil industry when it comes to cleaning up, when it comes to trying to conceal. I can't hear you anymore, Ruben Abati, however. I believe you're hearing me. So when it comes to cleaning up, they just try to conceal the evidence so that people like you, the press, and those environmentalists like us who are interested in getting to the bottom will not have any evidence to show anybody. They don't do any cleanup. In terms of those who have been there, NOSDRA say they do not have the resources to do what is supposed to be done. So they are not well funded and they're a federal government agency. Unfortunately, the oil and gas is a federal government business from 1969, entirely federal government business. And so they are supposed to do the cleaning up. They are supposed to ensure that they regulate. But what you are seeing is the evidence of how beautiful and how well and how nice their regulation has been. If they were regulating properly, this wouldn't happen. In places where regulation works, you don't see this. So NOSDRA has not done much for anyone to applaud them. We've not seen the Federal Ministry of Petroleum. We've not seen the Petroleum Minister. We've not seen this Minister of State Petroleum as well, as far as this matter is concerned. Bayelsa State has been there before. Bayelsa State has made statements. Bayelsa State Minister of Environment has been there. But again, they are constrained because the oil industry have cordoned the place more or less to prevent anyone that is not supposed to be part of it to get close. So even the community people and even the press people are fenced out automatically. So it is more like allowing people to be on their own. They are allowing the communities in the Niger Delta and the Nembe LGA to be on their own, as vulnerable as ever. So it is just more for people like you to help with beaming this information and getting our voices, our complaints out in the public space so that Aiteo and all the organizations, the federal agencies responsible will do the needful. It is their duty to make sure that they arrest this particular spillage and then also work towards cleaning up as quickly as possible. We do not want to see another abracadabra because...
Please go ahead.
Hello?
Please go ahead, Your Highness. Please go ahead, Your Highness.
Yes. We do not want to see another abracadabra, which is their stock in trade. And the next point, which the management of Aiteo has been emphasizing, is the root cause, the root cause, the root cause. Root cause, as far as I'm concerned, in this stage, is to look for a fall guy to put it on. To say, oh, it was one AB or one Abire or one Bubaraye that went to tamper with the wellhead, and that is why there's this blowout. And so for that reason, they shouldn't pay compensation. They shouldn't even clean up until they get to the bottom of it. I believe that we have gone past that stage. This is 2021, and if you have empathy in your soul, and I believe Ruben Abati has empathy. So if Aiteo has empathy in their souls, then what they should do is to ensure that the people there, about 45 communities, in fact, the entire LGA and beyond, everywhere downstream in that area is affected by this spillage. It has long gone beyond the boom, and it is flowing down to Brass River and Fishtown and everywhere else. So it is not about Nembe LG anymore. It's about everywhere else that is downstream, and that has to be done.
Well, thank you very much, Your Highness, King Bubaraye Dakolo, for joining us. Well, very touching incident out there in Nembe, where we'll keep watching developments. Thank you very much indeed.